Welcome to shave number 100 for this Nacet blade. I'm going to start off by soaking my Declaration Grooming B5 Badger brush. You don't have to soak it, but I prefer to. That's how I get it wet before the shave. Yesterday, this Sheraton did great with the old Nacet. Maybe the best result so far. And so, let's do that again. There are 49 dots on that side. 50 dots on that side. So today is number 100. Now, this blade still doesn't show any, it's not really showing too many signs of giving up the ghost. So we're just going to keep using it. But once I pass the 100 mark, I am going to, I don't feel like I need to keep going with the Nacet consecutively. I've got so many of the razors that I really enjoy using that are more mild and can't handle the Nacet. And so I'll be using newer, younger blades with those razors. Today's soap is a new one to me. I bought it used. This is the Nuavia, I assume is how it's pronounced. This is the blue, of course. And it's got a nice fragrance. It's very used, but it's expensive. And so that's why I buy it secondhand, used like this. That way I can try it out for a reasonable cost. And we are looking good so far. Here is my lather bowl as usual. Yep, get my face wet right before the shave. As usual, I'm dealing with my cold water. It's winter weather these days, so it is cold, and it is hard water. Not going to bloom or anything like that. This is not a hard soap. Hopefully we've had enough time with this Badger to get it nice and wet. I'm gonna shake most of the water out of it. It's kind of what I've been doing lately. Been pretty happy with it. And then let's do a 30-second load. I'm about to hit the 45-second mark on the video, so we'll start right there. And we'll just see if this soap responds well to this type of process. It's a brownish soap. If you have a pretty brush that you like the looks of and the color of, and it's kind of light, then you may want to pay attention to the color of the soaps that you use it with. There are some dark soaps out there that can stain. And there we go. That's 30 seconds. It's kind of a light coffee color lather there. That's what it looks like. And now I'm going to rinse the container. All right. I think we're good. Just start working it. This is the, what's it, Rubberset, a 400. This is a restored handle. So far, I haven't used it too many times, but so far I really do like it. This is very interesting. Got some immediate foam popping up right there just within a few strokes. Now this, look how much activity is going on. How much lather is there, and all I had was the water that was a light amount of water. There's still even some more soap in there to grab. This is pretty impressive. And that's why I sometimes start out mixing without very much water at first, because there are a few soaps, especially if you're trying one new to you, there are a few soaps that really benefit. Man, that's just crazy. Look at all that from barely any water at all. Let's put in a teaspoon. Maybe, who knows, maybe this is another soap that you don't need to load very long, and so I could have 2 batches of lather in here. Online, you'll often see the advice, load it like you stole it, or load it like you hate it. And that is often good advice for people who are just severely underloading their brushes. But if you put twice as much soap on your brush as that you actually need, you're going to have to end up putting twice as much water in with that soap to keep it at the right consistency. Otherwise your lather is just going to be too dry. And so sometimes it is a problem to load it like you hate it. If you end up loading it too much, it's going to be difficult for you to get a nice wet slick lather, because there's just so much there. This is still quite a dry lather. This just came out without any movement at all. It's really neat. I mean, this is definitely a very different base than I've experienced before. The scent is not super strong. Definitely have a nice sheen on the lather. We'll see if that stays as we work to hydrate it properly. I'm definitely going to do a finger test after I mix this. I did aggressively put in that last full teaspoon. Many times I don't do that once I've already put 2 in. But man, this guy looked so dry and full of structure, and I felt like it was an acceptable risk, but we'll see if I lost that gamble. And let's check it out. A little bit of cushion, just right. Oh, I almost don't feel the ridges in my fingerprints. That is some slick stuff. Let's just kind of look at it here. I might add just a little bit more water. Notice how it's not bunching up around the top edge, the top inside edge. Many soaps are at a nice slick point, and they'll stop hanging around up there because they're too, if the lather is too dry and it gets up there, it tends to stick. If it's wet enough, then it will bond with the other parts of the lather and be pulled down. Like you can see this stuff, it's going up there on the hill, but then it's coming back down because it's staying with all his friends. Doesn't quite have the structure. This just looks great. Just kind of a mild smell. It's not the blue, name kind of denotes maybe a something similar to the Aqua Velva blue, that kind of refreshing type scent, and I can see maybe some of that in there. It's not Definitely not a duplication of that. It's almost if you took that and maybe added some cream or maybe a little vanilla. That's the kind of thing, but it's very subtle. So let's put just a little more in, and that'll probably be it. One thing I've learned over the last few days is to trust the slickness and the cushion that you feel in your fingers more than your eyes. And once you learn a particular soap base, you can trust your eyes because you know that maybe like you can pull up the, look how elastic that is, and look how it's fallen down on the bottom there. It's just slowly collapsing. You have the floppy peaks up there. If you're going to use this soap base for a while, then you can definitely memorize how this consistency behaves, so you don't have to do the finger test, you know. So let's just go with that. Looks like I've got plenty of lather. It looks terrific, smells nice. In some soaps this would be a little too dry. Man, that's just a nice, that is a dense looking lather. Doesn't look airy at all. I'm super tired, by the way. Didn't sleep last night. I had a work deadline, so I took a 5-hour energy and just didn't even sleep. So any energy you see in me right now is coming from just I'm enjoying my shave. It's pretty cool to do it 100 times on this one blade. This blade's not stopping anytime soon, I can tell you that. All right, one final rinse on my face. All right, and the face, water on your face is a great way to fine tune your lather. And if you're going to mix it a little to one side or the other, mix it a little on the drier side, just a hair, because you can just leave some droplets on your face and that will settle the lather down. This is the standard loft for the B5 knot that Declaration Grooming likes to use, and it's kind of too short for my own preferences. All those hairs are so densely packed in the middle that they don't move around too much. But I love this old handle, been restored. So we'll see if this Nuavia is worth the expense. The scent, it's very, very light. I'd say it's maybe a 2 out of 10 as I'm wearing it right now. It's an enjoyable scent. It's not going to offend anybody. I would say it's kind of in the masculine zone, but it's very light. So we'll see if that's kind of a ding against it for me, because there's just so many great smelling soaps out there that perform really well. One thing, if you're concerned, if you think you might have created a lather that was too dry, you can see if you feel the blade kind of scraping or stuttering across your skin? Is the razor gliding across your skin, or is there some drag involved? Sometimes that means your lather's too dry. Is it difficult for falling water to clear away the lather from your razor? Not a jet stream, but falling water. If it is difficult, then your lather's probably too dry. If you're pulling your razor across and it just kind of skips and it's not sliding, then sometimes that means your lather needs more water. I don't think this lather is treating me as nicely as what I used yesterday. Yeah, see, there's some drag right here. Probably just needs more water. I didn't want to overwater it. So let me rinse my face off, and then I'm going to add half a teaspoon to the lather and mix it up. All right, I did what I just said. I put about half a teaspoon in there. Got a little more hydrated lather. I will say that sometimes if your razor skips across your face with a little bit of drag, it skips because of drag, then that can also happen because you have overwatered your soap. Hope that's not what I've done in this case. You know how you maybe washing your hands and you get the lather all over your hands and get them nice and clean. You spend enough time doing what you need to do, and then you start rinsing it off, and there's a point where your hands still have the lather on them and they're all slick, and then the lather starts to get rinsed away, and then all of a sudden you're left with these nice clean hands, and it gets that squeaky clean feeling. Well, that can happen with razors too. And you can have a lather that's so hydrated that it's giving you that squeaky clean feel, where your fingers, like just a second ago, your fingers kind of stick to your skin. It's can move your skin around very easily instead of sliding across your skin. And the razor kind of skips, just like your hands squeak. The razor squeaks across your face in a similar way. Now this lather looks terrific. Again, this brush is just not giving me very much splay. I almost have to switch to a attitude where I'm not trying to splay it, which I don't really like, but hopefully with more uses. All right. I like that 400 handle from Rubberset. If it was a little thicker, that would be probably nicer for my big hands. We're going to do a cross grain pattern now. Oh, now that's nice. That's the glide. Excuse me. Yep, and see the residual slickness is there. I can move my finger across my cheek. It's not pushing my cheek around. That's the way it's supposed to be. It was, in fact, underwatered. So this soap can take a lot of water. This shave right now, smooth, very enjoyable. You wouldn't think you'd be using a, well, here's the thing actually, something I've learned. I was about to say that you wouldn't think you'd be using a 100-use blade, but actually that's why a lot of people do actually take their blades into the higher uses, because it actually smooths out the cutting edge, and so you're able to have a smoother experience. Now my guess is some people do that by changing their razors. They'll change to a milder razor to get a smoother experience. So they can put a fresh blade in a mild razor to be smooth. Well, maybe you don't have a mild razor, or you have a favorite razor, and if you put a blade in one of those your not mild razor and you kind of let it age, then it'll get into a place where it's just nice and smooth. And the good news is a lot of times that place can be 30, 40 uses long, and so you're in this sweet pocket for a while. Rinse. This is definitely a top tier soap for me. The scent strength may not be there. Of course, it is an older puck, an older tub. It's been put through its uses, but the creaminess and the luxury feel, the cushion that was coming off as I was rinsing, and you saw my face. Most of the lather was gone, but it was still there, in effect, to provide that wonderful rinsing experience. So very cool. And it turns out that 30-second load definitely gave me more lather than I'm going to need. Third pass. Glad to be able to try this soap base. So I'm on the third pass now. And I've tried some other nice soap bases, and even just the average soap bases that are out in our industry right now. And to me, if this costs twice as much as another soap base, money-wise, I don't think it's quite worth that much. It's I would say it's maybe the performance aspects of it. I mean, they may only be 2% better. If there are probably some of the, like the new Barrister and Man, the new base, the reserve base is excellent. I haven't tried Excelsior yet. There are even just some standard bases, like Summer Break Soaps has got a great feel to it. It's not quite up to this par, but when you compare the prices between the two, it's not worth, like, too much more. One other soap I thought about using today for the Centennial was a Martin de Cadre vetiver that I got, and it's another expensive one. Big old tub, kind of pricey. Number one, I save money by buying it used. I'm just getting great glide here, and the blade feel, I do feel it just a little bit, but just smooth, enjoyable. But I lost lost my train of thought now. Okay, now it does, in some cases it does dry a little quickly. In that case, maybe I did dab my face a little dry, and so this particular brush load of lather may have enjoyed having a little bit more moisture on my face. That's something else you can play around with. All right, I'm gonna rinse this. So I just finished 3 passes. I've actually got kind of an average result, maybe a little above average, right here in my trouble spot. I wasn't even really trying. I was just kind of going on autopilot, watching my pressure, make sure to keep it light, just move across the skin. I was thinking about my angles a little bit, but not in an overly attentive way. And so it's one of those cases where that has given me a good shave. I'm gonna go ahead and do my neck pass right there, but it's almost, it would be optional unless I had a really critique filled kind of job. Throw a little water on my neck. Yeah, so it looks like maybe I could have done with a 15-second load, maybe. At the most, 20-second load. Got tons of lather here. So basically, if you're really focused on, you know, price. Oh, okay, I was talking about the Martin de Condré. I'm sorry if I'm screwing that up. It may be expensive, but it is a soap that will give you about a year's worth of uses for that price. And when it does that, when it extends itself further than most creams and cropes, things like that, then it starts to see its value, and it's actually a very reasonably priced soap. All right. The Nuavia here, but I don't think falls in that same camp. I don't think it quite's going to last that long. So this is just a nice lather. It's I should have looked at the price on this retail so I could say there are just so many good lathers out there, and so you can almost say that, well, you can buy this, or for $12.50 you can have a lather that's 95% as good, gives you a luxurious feel, super slick, protective, has a better scent. You know, the scent strength is pretty low. It's not really being present here in my shave. All right, I think that'll do it. Well, part of my thing is I try to bring new products that are new to me, at least, and just demonstrate them. And so if you have a Nuavia product and maybe you're messing up the lathers or something like that, maybe this video has helped you a little bit to get those a little bit more under control. And so sometimes when you experiment like that for the first time, I didn't know if my 100th shave with this blade was going to be a dud because of this soap. Now, this is a widely regarded good soap, and so I was pretty confident it would be fine. But it worked out anyway. Because this scent is so low, that's kind of a ding for me. It is present just a little bit during the shave, but not very much. And that's something that I would prefer maybe to change. But I still have plenty of lather. I mean, you know, 4 passes or something like that. So do you know what it's almost like? It's like I can smell the lanolin in there, if there is lanolin. Let me see. The lanolin combined with like the typical blue fragrance. Let's just tell you, stearic acid, water, cocos nucifera oil, potassium hydroxide, something long, parky butter, glycerin, fragrance, and calendula. So it may be that calendula that I'm kind of smelling. But quality soap. Show you what it's looking like now. Got that. The lighter color is the lather that I made tonight. So it's definitely a quality soap. In terms of what you get for the amount you pay, it is probably overpriced because, you know, like right up here I've got a puck of fine accoutrements. Santal Absolute, the scent is one of my favorites. I almost did that soap for today's shave, but it's like $12.50 a puck and it lasts a pretty long time. And the lather is just superb. It's just great. It's probably not quite this good, but you know, it's close enough, and it's still very enjoyable. So that is a thing. But I ended up also with this 100th shave with a great cut on my trouble spot on my neck, which is often something I'm chasing around, trying not to get irritation by doing too much blade buffing and things like that. This soap is giving me good post-shave feel. I don't feel any tightening or drying of my skin. My skin is oily, so I do have a head start on that. But if you have average skin and you sometimes maybe need to skip the post-shave, I think it's not going to be a problem with this soap. And I'll bet if you have sensitive skin, then this soap, or dry skin, I think this soap probably has some stuff in there for you to help you out, but you know, don't quote me on that. So I did actually end up using 4 teaspoons of water, and that reflects the fact that it was a little bit overloaded. Well, it's always fun to try new stuff and bring it to you, such as it is. I'll probably be moving this soap on to somebody else who might really appreciate that. Maybe has the skin that needs those types of ingredients, and but it was a pleasure to try out. Everything else was excellent. The brush I hope it displays and opens up more as the uses come in on it. That'll be nice. And there's 100 down on the Nacet. How about that? Started with this blade a few days before August began. And there we go, from there to here. I will definitely, it's still giving me great cuts, and so there's no reason to stop using it. I'll probably not use it tomorrow. I've got some razors. I got a Wolfman I want to try out on a more young blade, and see how that goes. So looking forward to that. Well, I'm about to die. It is sleepy time for me, and my eyelids are closing. We are good. The Sheraton just continues to surprise me. You know, it's just what happens when the geometry just happens to match what a person needs. Sheraton may not be as excellent of a razor for you, for instance, but it sure is for me. And it sure is for all aspects of this Nacet blade, from the beginning all the way up to 100 uses. So it's just an excellent razor. They didn't make it too many times. This particular one is a 1937 model, possibly early 38 is when they made those with the side rivets. And so that's how we date that one. But hope there was something here for you. And it sure was fun to try. 100 was a long way away when I started, and pretty cool. All right, this is Sugar Daddy Shaves. Take care. Good night.